Twisted Christian back with a video. Today I'm going to be discussing something big is happening, and I believe that it's going to lead us to eventually to where we want to be concerning our investments into currency. A lot of us talk about the RV, or they talk about the global currency reset, but there are some things that are going on. We're actually watching these events unfold before our eyes. This is one of these situations where bad news is actually good news concerning those. Also, too, if you're, usually when a recession is coming or when it's teetering on recession, oil always does pretty well. There is a tipping point to know if we are actually in a recession. But I'd like to thank you guys for your support on Patreon. For those of you who have signed up, there's about 20 of you who did. There's some of you who did a one-time donation, and you guys need to set it if you want to keep getting all the different posts I'm posting about different stocks. I just posted one about the gold mine and the motherlode of gold in California. So I'm trying to find companies. This is Kim Clement oil. This is one of the Kim Clement wells is gold. So what I'm trying to do is trying to find mining companies that search for gold, where what they call in California the motherlode of gold. So I'm looking at each company and I'm seeing which ones I can invest in. I am looking to see any companies, mining companies that are working in that area and their stocks are like $2 and less. And that's what I can afford, because I'm just showing you guys my journey and what I'm doing, and that's all I'm doing. So if you guys want to take a look at those, don't forget to go ahead and sign up. And because it's a new month now, and I was going to shut off the dollar, but I'm just going to keep it open for a couple more days for those of you who were on the Patreon, and then you guys only gave a one-time donation. You guys have to sign up for the monthly donation in order to go ahead and keep going. So, but the dollar one will go away this week for sure. Now, what I say is something big is happening. And it's not just the central bank, the Fed here in the United States, but this is happening all over, and the central banks are currently scrambling to keep the system going. And they're also scrambling to make sure that the debt keeps growing and growing as well. So I take a look at this article. For a second day, the New York Fed spent billions to calm the financial markets. Right? So they plugged in like $128 billion into the markets. It's absolutely crazy. So this is showing signs of certain things, right? This is all going to lead to where we want it to go. And it's almost like, for us that are invested in currencies, guess what? We want if it takes the Dow to go down to 20,000, so be it. If it takes for us to go into a recession, yes, but that's all caused by the current banking system. And one of the things that I realized is that when a lot of the different central banks, including Iraq, were buying gold, and the sprees started off in 2009, and then 2010, 2011, all these different countries, it kind of slowed down there for a couple years, and then it ramped back up over the last couple years. Remember, I've showed you in video after video concerning Iraq's purchase of gold and China's purchase of gold, Russia, Turkey, and all that. And one of the things that I realized is that they weren't buying the gold to go to a gold-backed standard, but they were buying gold to strengthen their reserves, to try to keep their economy strong. If they were going to go to a gold-backed standard and they were buying they were buying gold and gold and gold, well, there's no evidence to show that any of the central banking system wants to go to a gold-backed standard. And as you probably already know, that the Dow went again down today, and I think there's going to be many factors that may lead us to go back down to 20,000, but that all remains to be seen. So they're pumping money into the system. And now we're going to go ahead and read a tweet from the president. As I predicted, Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve have allowed the dollar to get so strong, especially relative to all other currencies, that our manufacturers are negatively being affected. Fed rate too high. They are their own worst enemies. They don't have a clue. Pathetic. So that was another attack on the Federal Reserve. So, what's going to happen is that when this whole system implodes, right? When this whole system implodes, all the different, not just the President of the United States, but other leaders of other countries as well can blame the banking system because it is failing. And what I realized about the gold was that they were just trying to keep themselves from imploding. But you know what? That's going to be turned around for our good, because if they really start, if all these different currencies start going to a gold-backed standard, that's going to benefit for those of us who are invested right now. So there is somebody to blame in all of this, right? When it comes down to it, because this is not just the United States problem. Now, I want you to listen to this guy, all right? And I'm gonna stop it at one point, but you need to listen to some of the key words that he's talking about. And this article is entitled "Central Banks Around the World Are Surprising Markets with Aggressive Rate Cuts. Here's Why." Right? And we're going to listen to this guy. He's talking about the RBI.
I think it's a mixture of coming up with cyclical measures to support the short-term pain, as well as taking long-term measures to get the economy going to the desired growth rate of 8 to 9%, which now looks like a very distant target. I think for the near term, the issue is to make sure that the banking system does not implode further.
Okay, so did you hear just what he said?
The issue is to make sure that the banking system does not implode further.
To make sure that the central banking system doesn't implode any further. Now that's huge. Okay, so what I'm saying is, it's not just a U.S. problem. This is happening all over the world.
The NBFC crisis does not become systemic. Does not make sure that the banking system does not implode further. That the NBFC crisis does not become systemic. And in the quest for formalizing the economy, in the quest for increasing the tax window or tax envelope, the authorities don't end up undermining confidence, because that's the narrative that we're hearing in terms of overzealous tax authorities coming after businesses, and this notion of higher taxation having a chilling impact on investment and consumption sentiment.
Do you think the authorities have got a handle on the bad loan situation? Because all I can see is, let's ring fence and create bad banks, etc., throw money at the solution, as opposed to root and branch reform of the banking system.
I think two issues. One, on paper at least, on the legislative side and the regulatory side, strong measures have been taken to come up with a bankruptcy code, bad loan resolution, and so on. And we're seeing the beginning of this process working out. I think the case of Japan in the late 90s, early 2000s tells you it's a long process, and it entails a lot of risk, because it can have a chilling impact on the rest of the financial intermediation process. But as far as the issues beyond just the rhetoric and legalese, if you will, on the ground, I don't think there's still a very good sense that the RBI has managed to stop the bleed, that there's still bad loans being created as we speak.
Just a quick line on Bank of Thailand, expected to keep rates on hold for a fifth consecutive meeting. Doesn't it make sense for the BOT to cut, especially considering the baht's strength?
Right, so I draw a parallel between BOT and the RBA, who met yesterday, which is that these central banks have been very conventionally attuned. They've had an inflation target, they've had relative success in pursuing that target. They worry a lot about financial stability and the cost of cutting rates too much. Maybe these are old-fashioned imperatives. Maybe we're living in a world where these things really don't matter, and you can keep cutting rates, but still you'll be, in real terms, so much higher in your rates than they say the G3 rates. Money will still come in, and also in a world of no inflation, why worry about pass-through from weaker exchange rate? So maybe they should just get on with it, but this would require a very strong change in the DNA of the central bank. Bank of Thailand, I don't think is there yet.
Okay, guys, you just heard him say, he talked about bad loans are still being made, even in this time period. So, and then, I just go back to the whole implosion thing. But I'm going to show you a couple other things here. Okay, so just when you type in the RBI, India Central Bank, in the Google search, you can see here, just looking at the different articles, the headlines, India Central Bank seeks to calm fears over tutoring lenders. Well, okay, there we go. That's what we said. That's what the guy was talking about. They're still giving out bad loans. The Reserve Bank of India denies rumors of bank closures. India Central Bank set to cut rates again as fiscal measures fail to cheer. Why another rate cut may not help India. The PMC Bank withdrawal limit raised to 25,000 to 10,000 RBIs. RBI alert, certain commercial banks being closed. Central bank has this to say. India central bank tells public not to panic as they fear banks will go under. So when they tell you not to, panic, right? What do? You panic. Because in that case, if you guys are over there whoever, I would probably be scared too. India is one of those countries where it doesn't matter where you live. If you have some of the rupee, I would probably hoard it right now. Right? I wouldn't be putting it into any banks or anything like that. India's PMC bank created over 21,000 fake accounts to hide loans. Oh. So there we go again, guys. And I'm sure this is not just here. I'm sure it's probably everywhere. So let's see, what are the central banks telling India? Because imagine, if something like this was to happen, here where they had to start, doing certain things and making changes. It'd be pretty scary. The Reserve Bank of India has issued directions to the PMC Bank not to allow depositors to withdraw cash above 1,000 rupees for a period of 6 months from September 23rd, 2019. And of course, they did reports appearing in some sections of social media about RBI closing down certain commercial banks are false. So they're talking about PMC Bank, right? So they're doing all these different things to take out all these fake loans and all this. Over 21,000. Who knows how much money that actually is once they do their full investigation. And I'm pretty sure this is probably happening all over the world. I mean, there are so many different, all you got to do is just type in, anything about central bankers and theft and certain executives and people that work for the company have been running scams for a very long time. So that's the whole, so what we're going into is that something big is happening, and this is leading down eventually for our currency investments. Now, for those of you who are in the oil markets, we looked at Kim Clement's well video, especially concerning the United States in the oil well. So what I've been doing is looking and looking and looking. I've also been looking at gold mining companies too as well, and I'm just looking at ones that I know that I can afford right now at this time. And so we talk about a recession earlier. Now it says in this particular article, it says oil prices need to go this high to push the global economy into recession. Measured in 2019, oil peaked at $158 a barrel in 2008. And I remember those time periods. I remember going in and paying $4.50 for a gallon of gas, while in California I think they were paying like $6 or $7. So there is going to be, for a period of time, if this happens, and that's one of the reasons why I'm investing in all those different U.S. company oil wells, and there's a few overseas that I've invested in. So this will probably be very good for the United States market, and I don't think it's going to get that high. It might get close to that. There's a possibility. Or put it this way, if all these things are supposed to happen, with the stock markets go down, the world goes into a recession because of the banking system, and all the world leaders are blaming the banking system, and then they install a new system, and during this whole time period, this is when oil is going to be maybe a little bit more expensive. And we also talked about Kim Clement Mark Taylor has prophesied about being the #1 exporter in the world as far as oil. And then we also have Kim Clement, who talks a lot about the United States in oil and the oil wells. So this is what we're looking at. So if you guys are interested in that, just make sure. So this is one of the reasons why I'm following the oil wells, so that I can invest in these companies. And it's only going to take one. It's only going to take one that I'm decently invested in to really make a difference in my life. And that's all I'm doing is I'm just, okay, I'm digging a well over here with this company, and I'm digging a well over here with this company. And it's interesting. That's when Kim Clement talking about digging wells, right? Each company to me that I invest in is a well that I'm digging. And it only takes one of those wells to make a difference in my life. Anyways, guys, so if you guys are interested in the Patreon and what we're talking about over there and what I'm posting over there, the links are down below in the description. And I'm looking forward to this journey. Like I said before, you know, if this is what we want, if this is what we need to happen to get to the global reset in the RV, then this is how it has to happen. Then basically the central banking system is just going to collapse. Stocks are going to go down. It's going to seem like things are going to be bad. So guys, get yourselves prepared. Who knows how long this journey is going to take, but eventually we will get there. With that being said, Twisted Christian out.